Hare Hare. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanasalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahayam Dadati Svapanditакam Padantikam. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagadpati Gopikesa Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namasatute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishavanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Taruvasya Cha Kripa Sindhu Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavabhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. मातृस्पर्शास्तु कौन्तेय शीतोष्ण सुखद खदा आगम पयिनो नित्य तस्तम तीक्ष्व भारत 14. Matra spars a sensory perception too only. Kaunteya, O son of Kunti, Sita, winter, Usna, summer, Sukha, happiness, Dukha, and pain, Da, giving, Agama, appearing, Apaniya, disappearing, Anteya, non-permanent, Tana, all of them, Titikshava, just try to tolerate. Bharata, O descendant of the Bharat dynasty, O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer season. They arise from sense perception, O sign of Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. In the proper discharge of duty, one has to learn to tolerate non-permanent appearances and disappearances of happiness and distress. According to Vedic injunction, one has to take his bath early in the morning, even during the month of Magha, January, February. It is very cold at that time, but in spite of that, a man who abides by the religious principles does not hesitate to take his bath. Similarly, a woman does not hesitate to cook in the kitchen in the months of May and June, the hottest part of summer season. One has to execute his duty in spite of climatic inconveniences. Similarly, to fight is the religious principle of the Kshatriya. And although And although one has to fight with some friend or relative, one should not deviate from his prescribed duty. One has to follow the prescribed rules and regulations of religious principles in order to rise up to the platform of knowledge. Because by knowledge and devotion only can one liberate himself from the clutches of Maya, illusion. The two different names of address given to Arjuna are also significant. To address him as Kaunteya signifies his great blood relations from his mother's side, and to address him as Bharata signifies his greatness from his father's side. From both sides, he is supposed to have a great heritage. A great heritage brings responsibility in the matter of proper discharge of duties. Therefore, he cannot avoid fighting. 15. Yam hi na betha yanteti purusam purusasava samudasu sama dukha sukha dhiram so mritabhaya kalpati. 15. Yamina Nitya Purusam Sama Dukha Sukham Dharamasa Mrityum Mete Kalpati. Yam one to whom I certainly na neva Betha Yanti are distressing 80. All these Purusam to a person, Purusa, Vishwa, a beast among men, Sama, unaltered, Dukha, in distress, Sukham, in happiness, Dhiram, patient, Sa, he, Amritabhya, for liberation, Kalpati, is considered eligible. O best among men, Arjuna, one person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress and is steady in both is certainly eligible for liberation. Purport: anyone who is steady in his determination for the advanced stage of spiritual realization and can equally tolerate and also lots of distress and happiness is certainly a person eligible for liberation. In the Varnasrama institution, the fourth stage of life, namely the renounced order, sannyasa, is a painstaking situation. But one who is serious about making his life perfect surely adopts the sannyasa order of life in spite of all difficulties. The difficulties usually arise from having to savor family relationship to keep up the connection of wife and children. But if anyone is able to tolerate such difficulties, surely his path to spiritual realization is complete. Similarly, in Arjuna's discharge of duties as Kshatriya, he is advised to preserve, even if it is difficult to fight with his family members or similarly beloved person. Lord Chaitanya took sannyasa at the age of 24. his dependents and his dependents, young wife as well as old mother, had no one else to look after them. Yet, for a higher cause, he took sannyasa and was steady in the discharge of higher duties. That is the way of achieving liberation from material bondage. Tantara, tantara. नासतो विद्यते भावो नाभावो विद्यते सतः उभयोरपि दुष्टस्तं वस्तन योस्तत्वदर्शिभिः na never asata of the non-existence vidyate there is bhava endurance na never ava avavaha changing quality vidyate there is sataha of the eternal udyog ubhaya of the two api barely dusta observe on the conclusion two indeed Anuha of them, Tadva of the truth, Darsivi by the seals, by swords, those who are sure of truth have concluded that of the non-existence, the material body, there is no endurance, and of the eternal, the soul, there is no change. This they have concluded by studying the nature of both purport. There is no endurance of changing the body. That the body is changing every moment by the actions and actions of the different cells is evident by modern medical science, and thus growth and old age are taking place in the body, but the spirit's soul exists permanently, remaining the same despite all changes of the body and the mind. That is the difference between matter and spirit. By nature, the body is ever changing and the soul is eternal. This conclusion is established. This conclusion is established by all classes of source of the truth, both impersonalist and personalist. In the Vishnu Purana 2.1, 2.38, it is stated that Vishnu and his awards all have self-illuminated spiritual existence. Jyotish means Bhava Ninani Vishnu. The words existence and non-existence refer only to spirit and matter. That is the burden of all sources of truth. This is the beginning of the instruction by the Lord to the living entities who are bewildered by the influence of ignorance. Remove all ignorance involves the reestablishment of the eternal relationship between the worshipper and the worshipable, and the consequent understanding of the difference between the part and partial living entities and the supreme personality of Godhead. One can understand the nature of the supreme by thorough study of oneself. The difference between oneself and the spirit and the supreme being understood as the relationship between the body and the world. In the Vedanta Sutras as well as the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Supreme has been accepted as the origin of all the emanations. Such emanations are experienced by superior and inferior natural sequences. The living entities belong to the superior nature, as it will be revealed in the seventh chapter. Although there is no difference between the energy and the energetic, the energetic is accepted by as supreme, and the energy of nature is accepted as the subordinate. The living entities, therefore, are always subordinate to the supreme law, as in the case of the master and the servant, or the teacher and the taught. Such clear knowledge is impossible to understand under the spell of ignorance, and to drive away such ignorance, the Lord teaches the Bhagavad Gita for enlightenment of all living entities, for all of them. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,